From the very dawn of human ambition, a silent, unseen adversary has whispered doubt into the ears of dreamers. It isn't a lack of talent nor a shortage of opportunity, but a far more insidious foe. The limiting belief. He had dabbled in various ventures. A modest online storefront that never quite took off. A freelance career that sputtered more often than it soared. Even a brief, ill-fated attempt at real estate investment. Each endeavor, despite his earnest application, seemed to hit an invisible wall. "I'm just not cut out for wealth," one would murmur. One evening, after yet another minor financial setback, Ethan found himself staring at his reflection, truly seeing the exhaustion in his eyes, the resigned slump of his shoulders. It was a moment of profound, painful honesty. He had tried everything he knew, and nothing had worked. He devoured texts on neuro-linguistic programming, the power of the subconscious, and the mechanics of belief. He learned about the reticular activating system, the brain's internal filter that amplifies what we focus on. This wasn't about simply repeating positive affirmations blindly. Ethan discovered that his subconscious was too clever for that. It would simply reject affirmations that felt like lies. Instead, he adopted a three-pronged approach he called the repatterning protocol. "If I'm not good at selling," was the belief. He'd recall even the smallest instance where he had influenced someone, presented an idea effectively, or simply helped a friend choose a product. He'd list these instances, no matter how minor, to build a counter-narrative. The incessant mental chatter began to quiet. Opportunities he once overlooked now shone brightly. Where he once saw insurmountable obstacles, he now saw intriguing challenges. By consistently affirming his inherent worthiness to receive, he disarmed the deepest root of his limiting beliefs. The idea that he was ungood enough for prosperity without immense, painful struggle. It allowed him to relax into the process, to trust the flow, to see money not as a reward for suffering. His journey from persistent struggle to extraordinary abundance was unpaved with a sudden stroke of luck or a secret formula for making millions. It was paved with the methodical, courageous, and deeply personal act of confronting, deconstructing, and ultimately silencing the limiting beliefs that had held him captive for so long. He discovered that the lock on his wealth potential was never external. It was always simply the belief that he wasn't worthy of the key. And once he truly understood and embodied his inherent worthiness, the gates of abundance swung open, revealing a world of possibilities he once only dared to dream. But as an energetic exchange for value given from a place of deservingness, this subtle shift was monumental. It wasn't about striving harder, it was about allowing more. He launched a new venture, a digital marketing agency specializing in niche e-commerce brands. This time, his approach was different. Instead of approaching clients with trepidation, he approached them with a quiet confidence, born not of arrogance, but of a deep-seated belief in his own value and the value he could provide. He began to understand that his limiting beliefs weren't just negative thoughts. They were deeply ingrained neural pathways, constantly scanning for evidence to confirm their validity. He started negotiating with a newfound firmness, valuing his time and expertise. He invested in himself in further education and strategic partnerships, no longer seeing these as expenses, but as investments in his inherent capacity. He attracted clients who aligned with his transformed energy, those who respected his work and compensated him fairly. The work itself, once a struggle, became a joyful expression of his capabilities. The worthy witness, visualization, asterisk, asterisk. This was the most profound and unique part of his protocol, and ultimately his viral hook. Ethan realized that many of his deepest limiting beliefs stemmed from a core feeling of unworthiness. He wasn't just financially secure. He was truly wealthy, not just in terms of assets, but in freedom, time, and inner peace. He had built a thriving business, hired a talented team, and was able to travel, pursue his passions, and contribute to causes he believed in. His transformation was complete, a testament to the power of a mind unleashed from its self-imposed shackles. Not just unworthiness of money, but unworthiness of ease, joy, and unconditional abundance. He felt that prosperity had to be earned through struggle and sacrifice, rather than received as a natural state. To combat this, he developed a daily ritual. Each morning, for 5 minutes, he would sit in silence, close his eyes, and visualize a perfectly still, clear pool of water. In this pool, he would see his future self, the version of him who had already achieved the abundance he desired. But he wouldn't focus on the material wealth. Instead, he focused on the feeling emanating from this future self, a feeling of deep, serene worthiness, of effortless flow, of inherent deservingness. He wouldn't ask how that wealth came, only focus on the state of being. Then he would imagine a single drop of this worthy energy from his future self falling into his current self, rippling outwards, cleansing and filling him. He would repeat the silent mantra, "I am worthy of receiving. I am worthy of effortless abundance." It was a paradox. He wasn't visualizing getting something, but visualizing being something, specifically worthy of receiving. This wasn't about doing to get, but being to attract. Where did this belief come from? Whose voice is this really? He traced many beliefs back to childhood experiences, societal narratives, or casual comments from authority figures. Understanding the origin began to strip the belief of its power. Every small setback became a powerful confirmation of "I told you so." He felt stuck, not by external circumstances, but by an internal, intangible force. "Money is complicated, and I'm not smart enough to figure it out," another would echo. As he flipped through the pages, he saw glimpses of a bolder, more hopeful Ethan, untainted by years of reality checks. But beneath the youthful optimism, he also saw the nascent seeds of his current limitations. Small, seemingly insignificant doubts that had, over time, blossomed into formidable barriers. It was an uncomfortable realization. He was the common denominator in his struggles. His mindset, not his circumstances, was the true prison warden. "True success requires a ruthlessness I don't possess," a third would insist. These weren't thoughts he consciously chose. They were deeply embedded programs running in the background of his mind, dictating his reactions, coloring his perceptions, and ultimately sabotaging his every genuine attempt at financial liberation. He started carrying a small notebook, a belief catcher. Every time he felt a pang of self-doubt, a wave of resignation, or heard that familiar internal whisper of inadequacy, he would jot it down. "Wealth is for other people. I'm not good at selling. I don't deserve an easy life." He began to see the patterns, the recurring themes of unworthiness, scarcity, and self-limitation. He saw opportunities, but the internal voice would instantly highlight every potential pitfall, every reason for failure, before he could even take a decisive step. He yearned for abundance, but his subconscious was locked in a pattern of scarcity. He saw others, seemingly no more intelligent or hardworking, ascend with an ease that baffled him. He'd watch financial news, listen to podcasts, devour books on wealth creation, yet the wisdom never seemed to translate into his own reality. The pieces of the puzzle remained stubbornly disparate, never forming a coherent picture of success. Ethan knew this adversary intimately. It was a constant companion, a shadow stretching over every aspiration, a quiet voice that insisted, with unwavering conviction, that true prosperity, genuine abundance, was always just beyond his grasp. Ethan was not a man devoid of effort. He worked diligently, often to the point of exhaustion. His apartment, though tidy, carried the subtle scent of ambition deferred. The bills, always paid on time, left little room for comfort, let alone accumulation. His friends, some of whom were starting to build families and secure their financial futures, would offer well-meaning advice, which only served to amplify the quiet hum of inadequacy within him. "Just work harder, Ethan," they'd say, "or you need to network more." He did all these things, or at least he thought he did. Yet, the chasm between his efforts and his desired outcomes grew wider, filled with the debris of self-doubt and the concrete of unfulfilled potential. The limiting beliefs were not loud proclamations. They were insidious undertones. The turning point came not with a sudden epiphany, but with a quiet, persistent, gnawing dissatisfaction that reached a crescendo. It was then that he stumbled upon an old, forgotten journal from years prior, filled with youthful aspirations. Driven by a desperation to break free, Ethan plunged into a deeper study of the mind, not just financial strategies. His journey to silence these beliefs began with meticulous identification and came the systematic dismantling. 1. Deconstruction. For each identified limiting belief, he asked, "Is this absolutely true?" 2. Evidence countering. He actively sought out evidence against the belief. 3. As Ethan diligently applied his repatterning protocol. The transformation was subtle at first, then undeniably profound. His fear of rejection, once paralyzing, diminished significantly. The viral hook, the worthy witness visualization, wasn't a magic spell, but a recalibration of his internal compass. Within 2 years, Ethan's agency flourished beyond his wildest dreams. Ethan's story echoes the timeless wisdom that true wealth begins not in the external world of markets and investments, but in the internal landscape of belief.